Hey everybody, it's FMPONE here to look at Warden by Cat Food, Thomas, and Almas. So, this level takes place in a prison, which I view as a fascinating choice for an environment. On the one hand, I think about, do I want to really explore or play in a prison? Well, it turns out I do, because this level is quite beautiful and it has some pretty spectacular views. I'm also going to be, I think, harsh but fair on some of the strategies around the art of this level, some of the approach that was deployed. I think this level goes for detail, 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 and detail. And I think that is a mistake because not all detail is created equal. And I think when you uh, attempt that strategy, it is a dangerous and challenging strategy. Why do I say that? Because you are throwing an awful lot at players, first and foremost, and you're putting an awful lot of pressure on yourself. So I'm going to go through some of the ways in which try to be a little bit more specific about that so that I can hopefully illustrate the concept a little bit more. So first of all, an area like this, the T-spawn, looks absolutely fantastic. But I think when you dig into the details a little bit more, as you will in a spawn area that you spend an awful lot of time in, you will notice things like these edges that are not given a soft normal, for example. And there's plenty of other things that I'm going to touch on this level where uh, you just don't quite have the transition between different walls and floors that you'd quite want. Some of the props are clipping through the level in a way that is just not quite what you would want. Some of the plants are clipping through the props. And again, why do I bring this up? Why do I linger on this? Why do I emphasize this point? Because again, I think it goes back to the strategy of the approach here is to do more and to worry less about whether those individual choices are paying off. And I think we will find oftentimes that they are not. But with that being said, uh, there is plenty to appreciate and enjoy about this level. I mean, there is some pretty spectacular views. Check that out, for example. And I really like the aspect of uh, this sort of San Francisco theme. I don't know if Felsen Prison is real or if this is just a loosely based Alcatraz. Either way, I'm loving it. I'm loving the Americana of a graphic like that. Very cool. I'm definitely a sucker for any kind of wet ground, bringing, you know, some really cool roughness detail to the forefront. So love that little fan that's going, spinning on top of that roof. This truly looks like a Source 2 level, but I encourage you not to look too deeply at the details because that's kind of where, for me at least, my own personal opinion, it tends to fall apart a little bit. You know, when you take a closer look. Um, and again, an area like this, we're throwing so much information at the player, throwing so much data at the player, at their eyes. But the problem with that is that you start to examine the individual details. And, so I think it's a risky strategy. But then again, you look at a building like that and how cool is this detail of this siding kind of falling off there. Pretty awesome. One thing I will say about this level is uh, you truly, as you're moving through the level, feel like you're in this place, which I just super admire about it. Love that brick. Love this whole area, the light coming through. I mean, there are some pretty awesome views on this level. Check this out. Love that. Incredible. But there's also some things that I think, time and time again with this particular level, I'm going to go back to uh, potential. You know, we've got this light here. It's casting light on this wall. Seemingly not at all on the floor. Just an example of the little details that I think, not quite right, but I love the clothing of this laundry area. Pretty awesome. An area like this is looking really neat. Like this is poetic to me. This window with the orange jumpsuit, very cool. And we progress a little bit further, and we've got this kind of obvious like lighting glitch here. It's kind of the story of the map for me, to be honest with you. Just incredible views, and then you just kind of stumble onto something that just kind of takes you out of it. You know, I love this view of the lighting in the striped shirt, but then you kind of zoom in on the striped shirt, and the shirt's clipping through. It's a bummer. Super strong building here, and check that out. Check out that view. That's something or what? Pretty awesome. You get closer, and it's just kind of a box, right? Box, box, box. Wish these were diagonally cut. Wish there was some soft normals going on. Wish the textures were aligned. Man, just, you can call it nitpicking if you want, but we're doing a lot of things here. We're stretching these boxes, really scaling them beyond, I would say they're well beyond their intended fidelity here. Same with these tires. Now we've got some things floating here. But then you look up, and it's such a difference in this level when you look up versus look down. Because everything in the background, in the expanse is awesome. Really cool. But then when you kind of get up close to things, it's kind of a little bit more underwhelming. Let me see if I can illustrate the point more. We've got some clipping here in two different places. And over here we've got some visible Z fighting. So you can ask yourself, is this a situation where, if we had given the creators 2 more months, 3 more months, would all of this stuff have been cleared up? And honestly, my honest opinion is no. And here's why. Because the strategy and the approach we're taking here is just detail, detail, detail. And we're just trying to do more and more and more. But the more you do, the more everything has to fit together and has to be aligned and has to be, detailed in an equal manner, and it has to feel equally well polished. And so you're just increasing the burden on yourself. So I don't think it's a good strategy. I don't think the strategy itself is sound. And I think it leads to clutter and mistakes. And so here's an example. We have a fan that's fallen. where has the fan fallen from? Because everything here is intact. There's 2 fans. There's not room for a third. It's clutter. So, and you look at something like this, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I go behind the wall here. Oh, it's not a spike, it's not a hook. It's part of a prop that's clipping through the wall. So it brings me no joy to point these things out. It does not make me happy. I am not thrilled to report this stuff. But I'm reporting what my eyes are seeing, and I'm trying to be honest. Um, and I do think that, there are some basic things like roughness and metal maps on this prop. Why would that matter? Because here the level is serving me a nice poetic moment of this puddle casting this beautiful light back. But what if I want to make my own poetic moment by just looking at this wall, for example, you know, and then I come over to here, why can't this be a poetic moment? Why can't this cast metal, reflections, and why can't that be a moment? I certainly think it could be, but not with the way the map is now. And here we have this, could be soft normals, misaligned textures. I love this broken brick. That looks awesome. That looks fantastic. Love the, sometimes when you take the maximalist strategy of, more detail, it actually will work. But you got to make sure it pops. And this room certainly comes together very well. Love this room. And I love this piece of artwork of the lighthouse. It really makes you go look for it. Where's the lighthouse? There it is. Beautiful. Got our greenhouse. Where's my plants? Love that. That's looking very Source 2. Epic. Love that building. Check out that view right there. There's a lot to like with this level. An awful lot to like. I just kind of wish that it came together a little bit more. Check that out. What a view. Spectacular. One thing I really like this about this level is you can kind of be like, yeah, I'm in the cell block. I'm in the laundry room. I'm in the broken brick area. I'm outside by the lighthouse. I'm in the kitchen. Just easy. It feels like you're there. And then you got the mess hall. I love this environment. I love this level. I love the potential that this level has. I just wish that it was really meeting that potential. I wish it was, not 20% off of where it could be, you know. That's kind of where I feel like we're at. We're short of our potential here. Check out that lighting. Gorgeous. I really like this one. I know it may not seem like it, but I'm tough on it because I just feel like there's potential here to be even better, much better than it currently is. And I would like to see it live up to that potential. Because this kind of a theme, the way this looks, is phenomenal. And it deserves that extra polish to really get there, get to where it needs to be. I love little details like this. Main checkpoint. Little guardhouse. Love the way this brick looks. I mean, that's awesome. Like this destroyed kind of shed thing. Yeah, I mean, this is a very strong basis of a level, but I think that, you know, we have to reevaluate the strategy a little bit. You can't have areas that are this phenomenal with such kind of glaring things. You know, we have to pick one. We got to pick a lane here. Let's just go all the way. That's my thoughts on it. Very strong level.